There's a really great tape saturation plugin out there, and nobody's talking about it. Why not? Everybody loves the sound of analog tape. That warm, fuzzy saturation, the head bump in the low end, the gentle roll-off on the highs, even the Dolby noise reduction companding. And there are lots and lots and lots and lots of great plugins that emulate the big studio reel-to-reels, like the Studers, the TX, the Ampex, the Otaris, half-inch, 2-inch, 2-track, 24-track, 15 inches per second, 30 inches per second, Slate, Waves, UADs, UHE, Soft Tube, Tone Boosters, Keve, Baby Audio, McDSP, Goodhertz, Chow. Yeah, there's a lot. Many of them are fantastic and amazing, and many of them are also very, very expensive. But I've come to love one recently that's kind of weird. It's not quite an all-purpose studio tape emulator, and I wouldn't strap it across every channel, but dang, when it works great. It emulates, bear with me here, cassettes. Yeah, cassettes. Those terrible sounding, trashy pieces of plastic you bought singles on in the 80s and 90s, if you were alive in the 80s and 90s. Or you're still buying if you're a hipster who's too cool for the vinyl revival. But anyway, SketchCassette 2 by AberrantDSP. They make a couple of funky plugins, and they all seem kind of squarely aimed at making like lo-fi or experimental stuff. They have a weirdo compressor called Shapeshifter and a plugin called Digitalis that does all sorts of digital artifacting. And then there's SketchCassette. And they have these charming hand-drawn interfaces, which are really easy to use, but frankly, I think people don't take them necessarily seriously because of it. But they sound great. Oh my God. And they're all like 20 or 30 bucks. So they're super cheap, they're easy to use, and they sound great. I mean, what more could you really ask for? What's really cool about SketchCassette is that it's really flexible. You can get a warbly lo-fi sound if you want. You can get something that's full of character and vibe for your lo-fi beats to chill out and study to 24/7. That's the obvious use, and it's absolutely great for that. But it's got a lot of other really cool options. So you can turn off or turn down parts of it, like the tape control, or you can bypass the tape part of it entirely and just use the wow and flutter controls. You can get all sorts of weird stuff out of it. Like you can take a pretty sterile pad and use the wow and flutter to make kind of this woozy, drifty Boards of Canada kind of thing. I mean, it's a fairly sterile pad. Nothing terrible with it, but it could use a little character. So there you go. You can also use it in like this Type 4 mode on various things like bass or drums, Type 4 tape, use master or standard, and it sounds a lot like a studio tape kind of sound. It's big and chunky and warm. It's not really lo-fi, but it has a lot of analog color. And I mean, you can use it on drums, and it sounds pretty great. It's subtle, or it can be. You can go nuts with it if you really want to, but I have chosen not to. But it gives it a little extra heft, which is pretty nice. You can even do the Dolby noise reduction trick where you're able to use the Dolby compander as an effect to brighten stuff up a little bit, and they give you this ability to kind of turn it up or down here, this brightness knob and the amount knob, which gives you a lot more control over the output. So if I were to, pretty simple bass, gives it a little bit of edge. I mean, I could really dial it up if I wanted to. which I wouldn't because that's kind of terrible, but you get the idea. Mix it with some of the other controls, you can get some kind of cool effects. So my only complaint about this plugin is that it doesn't do automatic gain reduction. So when you kick it in, there's always going to be a couple decibels difference in output volume. And, you know, this isn't going to replace UHE Satin or anything anytime soon as my studio tape emulator, but it's definitely in my favorites to reach for menu when I need to chunk up a bass sound or add some character to a pad or something. You know, when I just need a little color, don't feel like mussing about with, you know, full-on studio tape stuff, it gives some nice vibe to things. And it's cheap. I mean, it's like $30. I think you can get all their plugins as part of a bundle for like $40. So, I mean, even if you only use it once in a while, it's still a pretty good deal. So yeah, SketchCassette 2. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. And don't forget to like and subscribe.